Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
Un saluto a tutti.
What's up, Juventini? Welcome back to the AJCer channel dedicated to Juventus, and we've got a lot to discuss. And finally, as you can see in the header, it's, give in or give up, but we may finally have struck the deal, all right, with Nico Gonzalez. We'll obviously take a look at that, take a look at all the storylines through this past week, okay, from one finalized signing in Kalulu, a few goodbyes around Juve, some turmoil around Danilo, etc. We've got a ton to tackle. We're going to do it all together. I've got Lewis, I've got Omer. Fellas, how you doing today?
Well, everybody's probably sick of seeing me, so I'll hand it over to Lou, because it's been a while since he's been here, and he's still working a lot in the background. But
Oh,
Lou,
yeah,
how are you?
Lou, how you enjoying the news these days?
It's terrible. The only silver lining is we only have 1 week left of the Mercato.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's only sometimes you can tweet that Jadon Sancho or Nico Gonzalez is close, before you start to feel like you're living Groundhog Day.
Oh, yeah.
48
We're
hours,
close.
48
We're
hours
close.
is,
24 hours. 48 hours. 24
Yeah.
hours. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
The headline for the episode should have been 48 hours.
It's been, yeah, no doubt.
Can you
We should
imagine, how does a Nicolas Kira day looks like? Because we're having a tough time with the news.
Yeah.
He's posting at 2, 3 a.m. when Louis is drunk and can barely post it on our social media.
Yeah.
There's
So we're going to take a second to say what's up to everybody as more start to drop into this live Apex. Ciao, ciao. We got Kate Keefe here. Ciao. And we've got Norby here. What's up, Norby? Ciao tutti. Let's drop a like. Let's get ready. We got Trim even in here from the motherland in Italy right now. Enjoy yourself, Fra, okay? And thanks for tuning in. So we got to kick things off with what's going on earlier in the week, and that was the signing of Kalulu. All right, and I'm sorry, you guys, but this was just a piss. This was just a piss, okay? I absolutely loved it. We're going to drop that. We're going to bring this up. This was gold. This was just sheer comedy. From the original intro video, I don't even know what the hell that is. But some people's kids apparently like that song. I don't know what the hell that intro video was. But this was just gold. Player of Juventus on loan from Milan. Player of Juventus on loan. Player of Juventus, all within a span of an hour and 15 minutes, okay? I was dying. I was howling. I'm like, if it's your media manager or if it's you, this is the most indecisive defensive player I've ever seen in my life, just from his social media. But the signing itself, guys, this made me laugh. It killed me. I thought it was just hilarious, okay? But in terms of the signing itself, Kalulu, where are you guys at on it? How do you feel about it, Lou?
50-50. I feel like he's probably not going to be a starter for us. He may be kind of just like, a backup or rotational player. But I did see that one of the reports around him was that he's good with the ball at his feet. So that might be part of the reason he was brought in, is to just kind of implement that into Malta's system as they build. And then, hopefully next year they get a guy that can do that full time. But I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it.
Yeah.
Omer.
Yeah, let's try to look at, both angles, positive and negative. Negative, yeah, it was cringe, first of all. To get a smile out of him was a tough ask. It doesn't seem too committed, to say the least, which is kind of worrying, but still, that's how we read it from outside. We'll have to see on the pitch, basically. So the positives are that he is fairly young, already been an integral part of a Scudetto winning team, already kind of played this type of football, of pressing, a lot of movement, kind of a modern defender. Familiar with the league language, there's no barrier. It should be an easy switch for him. So yeah, he can be useful. I've said it before. Like the bar wasn't set very high. We're lacking in depth at center back, right back, left back, wherever you want to play him. He's probably better than what we have on the bench as subs right now. So yeah, let's look forward. He'll have to prove himself on the pitch.
For me, it's just cut and dry. This is a safety net signing 1000%. It's just somebody coming in for depth. There is nothing looking beyond this here out of this deal. I feel like right now, from club and player, this could, of course, all flip because at the end of the day, the pitch is what does the talking. And if he blows it out of the water, yeah, I think the club will then probably look at something and then it'll be up in the air on how his time is here with us. But right now, it is literally just a safety net depth signing for one season. And right now, as it stands, in my mind, it's nothing more than that. It'll depend on what actually happens for that to change. And to be honest, it's not the end of the world, but it makes complete sense that it is nothing more than a safety net signing. When you look at the alternatives that it would have had to have been, it would have had to have been like Hermoso, who would have needed obligation as he's a free agent. So you're committing if you go that route. And he's not going to sign a 1-year deal being a free agent. So you're committing. If it's Kiwior, there's a fee involved and a commitment involved, right? And down the line. Kalulu represented the one guy that is basically no commitment, as it starts off with a loan and it could literally just end at that 1-year loan. So it's just a safety net. It gives us a year and who knows? He either hits it big and then we look forward or that's it. So it's not the end of the world. There we go with Kalulu. We're going to get to, and yes, everybody, we're now got Nico Gonzalez. Skira has reported. Everybody's reporting. It is done deal, all right? So they found an agreement. We are going to get there, all right? Caviglia to Venezia. You can hear the little Frenchman Luca sobbing right now in the corner of his room if you listen carefully enough, all right? So Caviglia sold to Venezia. Yeah, this one, some were kind of, struck by it a bit. And for me, it's just, if it's not going to happen now, and the guy's been on so many loans, like it's a goodbye. Wish him, nothing but luck. But it is what it is. Your guys' thoughts on the Caviglia thing? Any regret, I guess, or wanting some type of, him to still remain property of Juve? Where are you at on the Caviglia move?
I think it's a bit of a shame because I do believe he had some place in this team, especially with the amount of games we're having. It was kind of unlucky because he was benched for most of last season, like just a handful of appearances. At his young age, it's probably not good. I think he's a victim of the circumstances. Unable to sell players, mainly McKennie, which caused probably him and Miretti push them out. I think he had something to offer, but I also think the money from his move will push other deals over the line. And that's why Juventus made the choice. So it's pretty saddening to see him go. I thought he had a place, but it is what it is. I hope the best for him, and maybe we'll buy him for 40 million in a couple of seasons.
Probably not. But Lou, where are you at on the Caviglia as you see?
Best ideas like that. No, I think we all kind of knew it'd be a stretch for him to stay. He did have a whole summer with Thiago Motta, so I don't believe he was tied to McKennie. I just think it's one of those things where, they tested him the summer. It didn't really work. Either he's too far down the depth chart or Motta just didn't really get it with him. It is a little bit of a shame, though. I thought last year we could have utilized him a little bit more. He's got kind of a cool story with being tied to Juventus and then the injuries and working his way back up. But I think he'll be one of those players that, we play against every couple years, once a year, and he just balls out for a mid-table or fighting for relegation team. But I wish him all the best because he seems like a great guy.
Yeah. It's, for me, like I said, the story around it's nice and whatnot, but at this age and where he's at, I'm absolutely fine with it. Miretti on the flip side had fans kind of worried as Genoa made some serious pushes to try and get some type of obligation, even option in there for purchase. It was always reported steady. Juve wanted nothing to do with that and still wanted to keep him as their property. And in the end, they do. Dry loan to Genoa. This is great for Juve, in my opinion, because I didn't want him to lose outright. You have others that disagree, like Alex P. saying Miretti stinks. Well, we will find out soon enough, but right now, for me, that's the right call on Miretti, in my personal opinion. Right call, Lou?
Yeah, definitely. I don't understand people who are complaining about this. This is, first, it was kind of Moretti's decision. He asked to be loaned out to play with continuity. And it's great. If you hate Moretti, it's great because if he goes on loan, he plays well. He'll probably get sold for a lot of money. If you love Moretti, it's great because if he goes and plays on loan, he'll come back and be really good next year. So it's a win-win.
It's time to actually find out and see if he can clean up those steps and stop watching it with us where he's under the microscope. So one way or another, we find out. We find out what's going to happen, right? Omer? Miretti?
Yeah, we've been on this topic for a long time. We even wanted a loan last season. I think it's a very good move for him and for Juve. I think going to Genoa and to Gilardino will benefit him, and we'll kind of get to see him play week in, week out, and can measure him better than what we have so far. So yeah, we'll need to see. But all in all, it's a very good move for him, for his career, and possibly for Juve.
Yeah, I tend to agree there. I think it's good for everyone involved there. As Animesh states, Miretti needed a loan. Now, we get to some things creeping up around Danilo and this issue that they're trying to push with Malta and whatnot, and he's going to be kept out of the game. But today we were hearing something about fitness related, I believe. Were we not?
Yeah.
Danilo. I'm not looking a whole lot into this. I don't think there's really any issues there, but Danilo may have become a rotational piece, which is not a problem by any means. So a little bit too much put on this is all I'm going to say before we get into the big ones like Chiesa, Gonzalez, Conceição. Anything to touch on this Danilo news that people are trying to push this lane that him and Malta are not on the same page?
I think it's exactly that.
I think it's just a culture shock because, he's probably going into where he should be, which is a rotation. So for Alex P, who doesn't know what's going on with Danilo and hasn't heard, it's just essentially Cambiasso could potentially be playing right wing in this next game against Verona. Danilo is still listed as being out from the lineup squad, and they're saying that obviously we saw Gatti receive the armband in the first game and Danilo sat off, and nobody really know why. There were rumors about technical decisions. There was rumors about fitness with Danilo. Today we get some fitness reports, but it's speculated that he's just not on that starting lineup for Malta, and he probably doesn't see him that route. And they're saying that Malta is just not in favor of the player. I'm not really buying into it. I think there probably is a little bit of a fitness thing, but I also think that maybe he's becoming rotational. Yeah.
Yeah. I also don't necessarily rule out that he couldn't play. Like, I mean, he could play in that system when he's fully fit. Like, I feel like it'd be hard to not play him in European games. But, I mean, you never know.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to this story other than maybe the way Malta plays.
It's
and
very overhyped by the media.
Big time.
The word.
Big time. It's just nothing there.
Everything Juve related is being blown out of proportion. That's where you get your clicks. That's one of the things playing for Juve. You're always up for some of those reporters and newspapers and whatever. Look, Del Piero was a rotational player as a captain for a few years. It's not all that bad. I think there is kind of a tactical misfit there because he's no longer a right back, but not exactly a two-man center back. We've seen that in the past. So maybe Mota prefers other players, but I don't think he doesn't get along with him or whatever, like to any degree. I think it's just injury confirmed, and that's about it.
And I wouldn't I wouldn't doubt if at some point he does have to maybe lean on, because there's question marks around there. Like Alex P right now is saying Danilo isn't a sub with the current roster we have, though. Well, that's up for debate for some fans. For us, we would have made the call in the first game. We went over the lineups. We would have had him in there. But the guys that went out there, they answered the call and did so in great fashion. So that's what's got to continue to happen. I really believe what we're going to see out of Malta is that nothing's a given. Maybe if you train really bad for a week, you might not be on there no matter what your name is.
We also have like 50 to 60 games this year. I mean, like that lineup is going to change a ton.
Big time.
Possibly every match.
Yeah.
So I just think, like you guys are saying, media's making a lot out of certain things that really don't need to be. And the Danilo one is one. Now we get to another one. Chiesa, closer and closer to Barcelona based on the latest rumors, and Barcelona coming in for 14 million total package. Yet to see if Juve, how they're going to respond, react, etc. But it looks like all signs point to a push. This, we saw Lucci come into the chat, whatnot, yesterday saying, oh, this is crazy, like it's crazy. Well, it's not really that crazy for a lot of us that maybe saw it coming ways down the line. It may still be a bit of a shock when you look at the reintegrations that happened at Juve, though, like with McKennie, Milik, etc., and everybody clinging to Malta's words at that presser where it's like, hey, the guys that are not in, they have been expressed to find solutions. But he never actually said, like, who these guys are. He just said, no, the guys that we've deemed out of the project have, but we all took his words and associated with what the media was feeding us, right? So it's kind of this funny little situation, but at the end of the day, it's strong plays I look at from Malta backing Giuntoli in trying to get what they wanted right out of the gate. And the whole thing that I see going around a lot in the terms of the argument is you're about to buy a player at 35, 38 million, whatever it is, and you're getting rid of Chiesa rather than renewing him. And nobody's really piecing together the fact that it's still most likely going to be less annually going that route than renewing Fede Chiesa, especially if he wants a longer term than just the 1-year bridge deal. So the other thing is everybody's like, well, just add $1 million, add $500,000. They already deem what he's on now, and this is the major breakup in the discussion between fans that are wanting him to remain and not understanding why the club's really making this move. It is financial, but I also think that there's personal issues there in the relationship. I feel like Chiesa had a renewal offered, didn't like it, took his chances, and now I think he's lost everything because Giuntoli doesn't seem like he's going to back out. Pushing for this sees us spending less annually. Potentially less risk involved, but it's something we've gone over, but it's not apples to apples to say you're about to go spend 35 on a player and renew. It's not apples to apples because that price is amortized over the contract term, and these players coming in are going to be on less salary. So annually, it's probably going to be for the better for Juve, and that's the big ticket item there. And the argument is there, if Chiesa's even at that price that he's currently on, if that's even right, because I think that's where it all stems from when you look at Giuntoli, Juventus, and Chiesa. And if you look across the league and you look at guys that have outplayed Chiesa last year, they're on significantly less money. So something's got to give. But for me, in this Chiesa situation, I would have liked, I still stand firm, like for me, the 1-year bridge renewal would have been the best, but I'm not broken up over this. I come down to one question. Is Chiesa irreplaceable? Is he irreplaceable? We're going to put that in a poll question. Now we're going to get your guys' thoughts on this. We've heard myself and Omer a ton, but Lewis, your thoughts on the Chiesa thing?
So First off, I think that like a lot of fans, like they act like it's only Juventus choosing not to sign Chiesa. Like Chiesa could fully re-sign with Juventus. Like it's a two-way street. He clearly does whatever his agent or him, whoever it is to blame. Like they don't want to renew with us. I think his situation is very similar to Rabiot's, where his agent gets in the air and says, "Hey, like there's teams, the big teams want you abroad. Like big teams are interested in you. You know, you don't take the offer from Juve because there's big teams there. And the reality is there's no one. And I think Giuntoli, kind of like with Rabiot, once Catherine Thuram came up and was available, was kind of like, yeah, we don't need to pay for you because we have a cheaper, younger option. And I think that, you know, when people like Nico Gonzalez or Conceição or even Jadon Sancho became possibilities, maybe Mbangula there a little bit too, that was kind of a surprise. Like, that's where they started to look and go, you know what? We don't really need you. And as far as people comparing this to McKinney, we have to get straight, was in the project. Like they offered him a renewal. Thiago Motta wanted him in the project. The only reason he was out of the project was because he tried to screw it up with asking for more money. He eventually settled for what they were offering him, and that's why he's back in the project. Chiesa is yet to do that. This is something that we talked about the last time I was on a show in April about how difficult it would be. I agree with what Justin just said right there as well. But we talked about this on the show, how difficult it would be to move him. And the reality is, as much as you like Chiesa, I'm someone who really likes him, what he does for the national team. We're looking at a player that had a lot of injuries, a player that, made it pretty firm last year. He can only play one position as a winger, which goes against kind of Motta's values. A player who's only scored 10 goals in Serie A as a career high. That's not exactly, 7 million a season type of production. Irreplaceable. I think he's replaceable. I think if you get a Jadon Sancho or a Conceição, I think you could possibly make up for that if they produce what their talent is up to. But yeah, I think that it's an unfortunate situation, but this is kind of how we've got there. It's, stubbornness from a player, poor agents, and a club that's just kind of like, hey, if you don't want to be here, like, we don't want you.
Yeah. Is Chiesa irreplaceable? 62%? No, not irreplaceable. I'm surprised it's at 62% only. But there we are. Omer, anything to add to lose?
Yeah, sorry, Omer. I just
Chiesa. No, not because of you, because of the Chiesa saga.
Yeah.
I mean, it should have been done already. It's too bad we're losing Chiesa, okay? He's not irreplaceable. He's not the first very good or best player in the team that we had to sell. And we've always bounced back. We've sold Dybala, we've sold Vidal, we've sold Zidane, we've sold millions of other great players who Chiesa is inferior to.
Yeah.
And we managed. Okay, I'm sorry to burst the bubble. Very talented player. I wish he would have stayed at Juve. Not irreplaceable.
It feels like Dybala all over again, except with less of a player. It's wild to me. Like
that's something like the Chiesa thing that's crazy to me.
What's there to back it up? What's there for Chiesa to go into the office and back up what he's asking for?
Yeah.
His age, his talent.
It's tough. It's tough there. And like for me, again, just I've said goodbye. Like Omer just hit a list. I've said goodbye to all those guys. Definitely not gonna shed a tear right now. Okay, so it is what it is. It's club over any player. And going back to Justin's point about Chiesa being responsible for his agent, and now you start to hear the rumblings about if their solution isn't found and he's facing being frozen out legit, that agent's gonna get fired. I would have fired that guy so fast. I was literally out here doing daily updates, calling for him to like get rid of this clown. Like, look at the offers you have coming in. Look at where you're currently at. Look at the level of the clubs. Look at the projects. Like, it all made sense for Chiesa to be the one to adapt and give in. It's like you might take a little bit of a hit now, but that is so short-sighted from Chiesa's perspective and his agent, because you've got a coach coming in where wingers feed off of and thrive off of. He made Salamakers have a good season. okay, at a wing position. Orsolini had a fantastic season last season, okay? Chiesa should have
Enjoy.
been drooling, okay, at the thoughts and the prospects of playing in Malta's game. And the fact that he was led to push for something when he's on healthy money as it is, the fact that you have a club that has been very vocal about cutting down salaries and you continue to push, Chiesa takes so much of the blame right now for me. It's not even funny. And his agent, of course. Hearing
if you
about
walked
him
in,
looking to fire his agent now is hilarious to me because it should have been done a while ago. You could see it heading down this road.
The club was giving him a fair deal, which is, hey, we'll give you one more year at the same price. If you produce, we'll come back and we'll renew. He probably would have got that money if he produced under Motta. It's a 1 year extension.
And I understand some
crazy.
that'll say, well, you're clinging to the media, to the rumors, and that's not necessarily true. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire. The demands is not just something we were hearing on our end. Every single club that has been linked to interest with Chiesa, the reports have been steady about the demands. Ramadani is a joke, and he is probably, potentially, depending on how this goes down, might have ruined Chiesa's career. That is yet to be determined.
by the way, it's the same agent. It was the agent of Pjanic, so he made that awful Pjanic Arthur deal. It was I think it's the same agent of Koulibaly, where he shipped him off to
Koulibaly.
Chelsea and then after one season to Saudi Arabia. I mean, that's a big name agent in the market of agents. He has a lot of clients. Apparently, from what I've heard, he has something with Giuntoli. He and Giuntoli don't get along too much. That's why he may be pushing him out. But still, it seems like he's going to get fired. And I don't buy it that if Chiesa knocked on the door of Juventus executives and told them, I want to stay here, they wouldn't have found a way to do it.
Yeah.
It's both sides. It's done.
It is what it is. Goodbye. Gonzalez finalized. So we've been here yesterday. It was starting to sound like we were going to sign all three of these friggin' guys. Gonzalez, Conceição, Jadon Sancho. All right. And everybody's just like, it's at the point where the fans are just like, I don't even give a shit who it is. Just sign somebody, all right? Just pick one, sign them, get it over the line. So a ton of discussions with Fiorentina. We know what was going on in the background. We were hearing about Kostic, Arthur, trying to get help on those salaries, get those guys offloaded too. In the end, we do still hear that Kostic could be getting something from Fiorentina there in terms of a deal done. But Gonzalez, right now, being reported by everybody as a done deal. It is being reported around 34 million euros plus bonuses, somewhere in that 30 to 34 range plus bonuses. All right. So at the end of the day here, where are you guys on this signing? We've got Conceição still in the background. Juve was pushing for loan. Okay, wanted to start off with a loan. Then we started hearing rumblings that they would go obligation and it would be less than the Gonzalez move just to bring him in. We were hearing Sancho. First time yesterday was obligation. We were hearing obligation tied to Sancho. Coincidence or not that Nico Gonzalez gets wrapped up like the day after and there was a ton of smoke around Sancho? I don't know. I just feel like that's not a coincidence. And Juve might have gone back there to maybe just get this final push. Like, we have little leverage. Leverage is something we've talked about a lot through this Mercato. Giuntoli's had an uphill battle the whole way through. These are just the tiniest of little actions he could take to try and just get these guys to finally stop acting like Mickey Mouse clubs. The next Mickey Mouse club on deck is Atalanta, which we will get to. But the Gonzalez move, I'm fine with any three of these names. Conceição, Gonzalez, Sancho. Lou?
Yeah, same here. I think they all make us better. I think that Gonzalez is a really useful player. I think that, out of the three, I think maybe he's probably somewhere in the middle between Sancho and Conceição. Conceição's like kind of young, a little raw, extremely talented, but I think maybe he'd probably be. Yeah, you probably would have preferred like Sancho and Conceição, but Gonzalez is a good player. He knows Serie A. He's a little bit older. I think he helps us right away. So I'm pretty satisfied with this deal. I do think that there is an avenue for Sancho to get done over the line because I really think United really want to offload him. I think that could be like a last day type of, hey, we'll settle, we'll pay some of that salary, like take him on loan for a year type of move. Like I think that could happen. As crazy as that sounds.
And the rumblings are 4 to 5 years to like pay this. So
yeah.
I don't mind that. But yeah, the Gonzalez one, I'm fine with. Omer, finally a done deal.
Yeah, it's like whoever. It's like ordering food when you're high. Like, do you want this, or that? Just get whatever. It doesn't matter. Each one of the three is fine. I like Gonzalez a lot, and I and I think he's like he was a lock because he comes from the league, 26. Like I think he's the best player at Fiorentina by a mile. I think they were waiting to see if they're going through the Conference League, so they have more games. And I don't take the price as like this is the price because there's still deals attached to it. Like then we sell them Kostic for like 6-7 million, and possibly even send Arthur there.
I got one question for fans that like complain about like, oh, like we overpaid for this player. Like it's not your money. Like, you know, like we're not running the books there. Like
it's
you know, they overpay for a player. It's their money, you know. Like,
well, this is another thing is everything ties into that. It's contract term. It's like we're selling Chiesa for 15. We're buying this guy for 30. It's like, how on earth is Chiesa only 15? It's because we're stuck. We're literally stuck. The leverage is gone. Like posturing, leverage, that's everything in the Mercato. They didn't have to sell Gonzalez. He's contracted to what, 27 or 28? It was one of those 2 years.
They had to sell him because he wanted to join Juventus.
Yeah, like literally, they didn't have to though. He's contracted. It's same thing with Koopmeiners and Atalanta, which we will get to. They don't have to sell him. But the question from Imam here, do you think the sudden interest in Sancho and Conceição made Fiorentina to allow? I think that's all Juve had for leverage. And I definitely think they started, okay, we got to start making a push. We're hitting crunch time, everybody. You're less than a week from the end of the Mercato. It's time to do something. It's shit or get off the pot moments right now for Juve. So Gonzalez is done, and now the rumors are, now you look to one of those others in Sancho or Conceição. We're going to put the question out here. Who do you want it to be? Conceição or Sancho? You can take your pick.
And both of them on a loan, right?
That'd be the dream, right?
Like, no, not like getting both of them, but either one you get will be on a loan, so it's not a guarantee.
Dom B saying Sancho right off the bat here.
I think Sancho's he's the one for me.
Sancho?
Yeah, I think Sancho too, but by a very small margin. Like
Conceição's a really good player.
Yeah, I don't really mind either of them.
Sancho's got like when he's really on, he's got like kind of an it factor to him. Like he could be a player that like, you know, takes people on 1v1, you know, like has a little bit of flair, a player that we're really not used to at Juventus. And then if you watch him kind of last year for Dortmund when he came back on loan, he worked a ton for that team, which I think fits Motta's style really, really well. So
there's also a different profile to him. It's more like a chance creator and takes the ball from the halfway line and helps improve. Where Conceição is like the guy you feed the ball into space and he's speed and he runs and takes it into the area. Like they're different kind of wingers. I'm
fine with either one of these guys. I would probably lean towards Conceição. I'd probably lean that route. But I want to get to something. Our friend Paolo, his ad is at pbugs on YouTube, and he had some strong words about Sancho and whatnot. Just saying, Sancho's an overpriced head case. I know way more than I've ever wanted to about him, as he also follows Man U in the Premier League. I don't wish him on my Juve at all. Continues, I hope for the best, but sometimes when a player has consistent on and off field drama and teams only commit to short-term loans with them, then Bale, you avoid it. Unless it's an absolute steal or gamble for 1 year with no commitment. Is this the play? Question mark. Maybe that could work if so. However, I'll take anyone but Sancho because I don't think he deserves to wear the badge based on his past and current portfolio. He's talented, looked good at times on a German club, but that doesn't make him Juve quality because picking seems slim. To think we're working through a Chiesa drama and talking Sancho is where I draw the line for our club. He says, fingers crossed Mota doesn't agree to $250K a week player that bailed on his club when they were injury riddled and called out his coach on Twitter. Yeah, there you go. And for me, it's just like, number one, the salary, it's hard to deny. I mean, you've got to work on that. It's 18 million pounds, which works out to 21 million euros. I mean, that's definitely not going to fly. Okay. If you're talking about the character issues, it is obviously we want these guys with clean records, obviously. But there's one thing that this could be for when it comes to Giuntoli and Mota and culture, and something we've talked a ton about at Juve that they need to reinstill. This could either be that test and or that example if he does come in, because we used to be the team that it didn't matter if this guy, what he had going on before, they would come in and they would fall in line. And you could see little subtle hints of Giuntoli trying to draw a line in the sand with the players, especially from a negotiation standpoint. This offers another potential test as if he'll draw the line also when it comes to on the pitch and in the locker room. And I don't think it's a shock when you start looking at how some of the things were handled with certain players that they're going to do that in the locker room as well. McKennie was a guy that spoke quite candidly and openly about his treatment. How was he treated in terms of a renewal? He talked about him coming back on a loan and everything. Maybe that the whole treatment with him was like, hey man, get out, find a solution. But then had a flip, did a 180. And it probably came because of seeing who was coming out for him and threatening to freeze them out. Chiesa probably threatened to freeze him out, and they probably weren't kidding. I don't think every case was the same for all those guys like Milik, etc. But honestly, I think this presents an opportunity to see if these guys are in fact going to start reestablishing that culture where you come in, you are one individual out of a collective, and the collective is what matters most. They've all been preaching it. It gives them a chance to act on it. I'm not scared about it.
So the only thing I hate about this argument is like Carlos Tevez is like proof that that's not always true. Carlos Tevez did one of the most unforgivable things you can ever do, which is when the coach tries to sub you in, refuse to go into the game. That's almost as bad as it gets. He European game, they're playing Bayern Munich. He refuses to go in the game in front of millions of people. Like that's one of the worst things you could do as a player. But he came for us and he was great. 2 years, great, no problem. Sometimes players are problems based on their environment. The Manchester United environment is pretty terrible. You could even argue the environment around Juventus was pretty terrible last 2-3 years. So maybe that's why some of the players behaved the way that they did. I think you're right. Like Giuntoli is someone who's very present. He's in the locker room. He's at the training ground every day. That was something that was reported about him when we brought him in. One of the reasons we brought him in was to be kind of that present force. And Mota seems to be a player's coach. So you're right. If Sancho's going to be a problem, or they're going to need to draw a line in the sand, or maybe they're drawing a line saying we'd rather get a younger guy that we can mold that fits the collective, then this is a test for that. But we'll only see based on if he gets signed and how he plays on the pitch, right? That's the only way we'll be able to prove that test right or wrong.
Yeah. That's and Vedad coming in here. One thing I like about Giuntoli is he has made it sure and clear that the club is always first. That's what we want. That's what we want. But Omer, your thoughts on the conflicts around Sancho and maybe saying no?
Well, I'm kind of done judging players based of their experience with the management of the previous club. We don't know what has gone on there. I guess it's similar to Chiesa with a lot of rumors of what has gone on, but no one knows for certain. I think Juve should have stopped earlier to be blinded by like shiny players. And maybe Sancho is that case because of his profile. Maybe he's looking to just get his career back on track, and Juve seems like a good option. Either way, like all three players were not called up by their clubs to their match days this week. I don't know. But it feels to me like based on reports that all three of them are coming. So Nico is done. I don't mind Sancho. Conceição has a very strong case of being a better signing,
Yeah.
and salary, potential, history, whatever. So yeah, just get one of them over the line. It doesn't really matter to me anymore. But I've said last week, Sancho, because of the salary issues and stuff, I don't see it happening. I will be surprised if it does happen.
Cugino Eddie saying Sancho is the English Cassano without the talent. Look at that. Hey, by the way, member there. All the members, Alex P gifted memberships on the last live. You are all more than welcome to join our private WhatsApp group chat. We want to see you in there. Reach out to us so we can plug you in, all right? So a lot of good times there. And, it's been great meeting the crew there. That chat gets pretty... heated when it's Lou and Justin. We always like those battles. They're very entertaining. Justin's like your nemesis there, Lou. We love it. We love it. Now, Koopmeiners. Well, the saga continues, all right? The saga continues. First question, okay? First question, and I'm going to put it in the poll here for the chat as well. And it's really simple. We're going to start with Lou. Do we land Koopmeiners, in your opinion? That's just the first...
He's coming on the last day.
On the last day of the Mercato, Koopmeiners is landed. Omer, is Koopmeiners landing?
Yes.
Yes. All right. I'm
a day before the last day.
Yeah. I can't help but feel Atalanta's just being really Mickey Mouse about this and petty because Cope made the stand against them, wants to come to us, and they've already signed their guys. There's nothing stopping them from making the move. Mm-hmm. They've never shied away from selling guys before. I stand firm. Everything I've said before. They're acting like a petty little child, okay? They've got their backups in there. If it was any other club involved, it would have been done like weeks ago. It's a joke. It's a joke. And it's why I don't want to help them or any of these clubs in Serie A because I don't understand it. It's like they forgot. It's like they forgot who they were leeching off of for a decade of dominance while the big clubs went MIA and were an absolute clown show. And they all picked off Juve's tree and the leaves there or whatever. They all did. De Laurentiis said it. Yet they still don't hesitate to act like clowns. Order is going to be restored, everybody, and they can return in line with the rest of the Chihuahuas. I don't know who Atalanta think all of a sudden they are after last season and whatnot, but 92% say we land Koopmeiners. But how do you feel about this whole ordeal and transactions? To be honest, this is not just me speaking with my bias, okay? And yes, of course, T97, it's amici di nessuno. We know that. We know that. This is like if I was a player's agent looking at how they're treating Koopmeiners when they had an agreement to move him, you know? And now you're holding him back for what? As long as you can in the season to disrupt the start of the season for Juve. It's not a good look on their end. This guy's using a medical certificate to like back up so that there's no contract issues there. Although, what does he even care? Because that salary he's on is peanuts anyways at Atalanta. So is he scared of breach of contract? Probably not. But he's still doing everything within line to not cause any kind of legal issues there for himself, Koopmeiners. But if you're another club looking to deal with them and whatnot, it's still, they're the ones coming out looking like shit. Am I wrong in that?
Yeah, I think a lot of this. I want to say this in the Nico segment. Some of this is like, it's like PR for like their fan bases, right? Like Rocco Commisso has to, like, Fiorentina hates Juventus, right? So like Rocco Commisso has to stonewall them to act like he's not rolling over to Juventus, so the fans don't flip out, right? I think Atalanta is like, hey, it's like, it's like Atalanta's the same way. It's we've lost 2 finals to Juventus in like 3 years, right? So we need to stonewall them in order to like look like we're not bending over. And it's like a PR thing for their fans, right? Because they're an emerging club trying to compete in the top 4 or whatever. But I it is just complete BS because why would you want to keep a player who doesn't want to be there? Like for a club standpoint, if a player says like he doesn't want to be there, he wants to leave, why would you keep someone like that? And I think the deal will get done because I think Gasperini is kind of a hothead. He's already gone out publicly against him. I don't think Gasperini wants him around that team. He'll probably feel betrayed. He's not level-headed enough to bring him back into a squad or reintegrate anyone. So that's why I think they'll wait till the last couple of days, and then they'll just let him go.
Gasperini runs hot. We know that. He runs hot. But Omer.
Yeah. Oh, Koopmeiners. We've been discussing it since March.
We're talking about Atalanta's side of it now, though. Like,
Atalanta are assholes. They're being petty.
100%.
The price is very respectful. Almost 60 million. It's now like at 59. That's just being petty. The guy wants to move.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get that. Justin said here that the other clubs don't owe Juve anything and they do owe it to the fans and to their players. I get that. But still, the player has a will of his own. He wants to play at another club. Juve are offering the money that they wanted. I mean, what's holding it back? Just to screw up Juve's beginning of the season?
That's why I say it's like PR, because it's like what Justin said. It's like they have to act like to their fans that they're not bending over to their competition, right? Yeah. So they got to stonewall them publicly and just be like, oh, we don't want to sell our best players. And Koopmeiners is probably like one of the best players they've ever had, like in their history. Think about like what he's accomplished since he's been there. It's this period for Atalanta has been one of their more successful ones. So to join a rival, they got to stonewall a little bit. It's ridiculous. They're assholes, but that's kind of the nature, right?
I think they're afraid. I think all of them are afraid because it even goes back to the Calafiori transfer and stuff. Like last time, all the clubs in the league sold their best player to Juve. It cost them 9 years of winning nothing.
Yeah.
And they're kind of trying to avoid that.
To Black Mama's boy here, they're spending Cope money without Cope money, but the thing is, they're financially they're actually sitting very, very pretty, especially with the Champions League funds, and then after that Europa win and stuff. Like they're actually sitting pretty for money. But the thing is, going back to the point, it's you've got a player that's there against his will, right? I remember Juve being in this exact scenario with certain players. Pogba was one of them. When he came back, he made that big. I was like, man, I get his will is to leave, but don't get rid of him and whatnot. But you know what? Looking back and looking at this situation, everything, it's always been 1,000% the right decision. If a guy wants to go, you want volunteers, not hostages. And Juve has always been steady with that, no matter who has been in management. It's never mattered. Straight across the board, even though sometimes I didn't agree with it, overall, and looking back, it's always been the right decision. You don't keep a player that doesn't want to be there. So to play games like this and whatnot, what are the odds? Like, what are the odds that the roles aren't going to get reversed and that Juve's not going to, elevate themselves and get to the top? Is Atalanta going to remain at that level? Are they going to surpass that level that they're currently at? I would bank almost everything I have on that not happening and Atalanta elevating themselves to more than where they are at a club right now, which is respectable for them. But Juve getting back is high percentage. And you know what? What goes around comes around. Giuntoli, keep those receipts, brother. Keep those receipts. It's going to come back to you. Believe me, it will. It will.
Whatever happens, if they do sell him, that would be, I think, the best deal for them right now. Because if they don't, then they keep him on the bench as a rotational player or freeze him out or try to reintegrate him. Either way, next summer his price will be lower and he'll leave anyway. That's what usually happens with guys who are unhappy and want to move to a different club. Yeah. And I also read this week that it's gone beyond Percassi and like the company, I can remember the name, who owns Atalanta, kind of told them, guys, that's 60 million, get the deal done and leave your personal bias out of it. Don't know how true it is. It came from a newspaper. But still, it seems kind of illogical almost for Atalanta at this point.
I don't think it will get done. The way that they run that club, like it will get done. I think. It's just they're just.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. Yeah. I say it, and then I'm like, maybe I regret saying it.
I feel like Cope's done like everything he can. Like the club's done everything they can. And this is what makes me, get to the last part of this. There are still those out there saying, without Koopmeiners, okay, and this is us landing Gonzalez today and one more out of these wingers joining, that this Mercato is a failure without Koopmeiners. So now we tackle this one. Without Koop, is this a failure? For me, no.
No, Koopmeiners to me has always been like, it's like bonus points. Like if you get two wingers, you get two midfielders, and you get a central defender, which we've done. We got one fullback. Technically, well, I guess you could say we've done 1.5 because Cabal can play as a center back and a fullback. That's you get all those. That's like almost a 9, 10 out of 10 Mercado. Then you get Koopmeiners on top of that. It's like, bonus points. It goes from like a 10 to 11, something like that. So I don't think he's fundamental necessarily. I think that he definitely he bridges the gap between Juventus and Inter very quickly, but I don't.
Here's how I look at it. It's not a failure because there's been so much great work already done. But Cope's he's a massive, and he was our main target. I understand some of the concerns about, look, it was between Calafiori and it was Koopmeiners. We chose Koopmeiners. Yes, and we've literally done everything we can. We've come up to 1 million away from their asking price. We've had an agreement with the player for months. There is nothing else we can do, so it's out of our hands. So to say that it is a full-on failure because of Koopmeiners is very difficult when it was never in your hands, right? It's tough, but I will say I may question some of the other things we did, but maybe a little bit less. Because I always said the Sule thing might have been a little premature if we weren't so sure of landing Koopmeiners. However, not necessarily. Yildiz, a game in, looking fantastic as a 10. Adzic is promising. You could play a 4-1-4-1. You brought in Luiz, and you needed funds to do that. We got rid of Illing, Barnechea. There were people upset about that. Well, Illing's probably heading to Bologna on a loan. All right? Barnechea's looking at a loan.
You brought up a good point. I think there's a lot of fans that don't really realize how good Luiz was for Aston Villa last year. Luiz's goal contributions over the last 2 years, he's 33 goal contributions, goals and assists recorded. That's a lot similar to Koopmeiners at Serie A. So that's why I say he's like added bonus, because if worse comes to worse, you switch to the 4-1-4-1, which we already know Kefren Turam is kind of playing that role in front of the fence, and Luis just occupies the Koopmeiners role. Like, to me, it's added bonus, right? Like, it just, I don't see why that's a failure. And I do agree, like the outgoing market, like some of the things we offloaded, the squad's a lot younger than it was before. We offloaded some veterans on high wages. We saved a lot of money. You know, this is kind of a year zero with Thiago Motta. It's to build the first years and the foundations, right? That doesn't mean that we won't compete in Serie A. Like, I think we've made really good additions. So I don't know. I think it's a little dramatic. That's all.
Michael Rizzo saying you don't sign any A targets. How is that not a flop? So let's reverse it.
A target would be my question.
Well, let's reverse this. So you signed Calafiori. We decided to go Calafiori 50 mil when they upped that price. Now you're patchwork everywhere else. Would that have made you happy?
But Calafiori also was like, remember, every journalist reported that we were interested in Calafiori, and then we didn't sign Calafiori. And what did every journalist report? We never ever offered for Calafiori. We inquired about Calafiori, but once we heard it was 50 million, we never put an offer down. So these quote unquote A targets are A targets by who? You know,
well, Toribo, we were literally at the table the day before, and we backed out for some reason. Like, Giuntoli could have closed that one. He chose not to.
But he was a B target because Calafiori was the A target.
So allegedly, Calafiori was an A target.
Look, that's how the market works. Like, Real Madrid get all their A targets.
Omar, Felipe Anderson was an A target in March.
Yeah.
So
and now he's in Brazil.
No one's up in the arms about that one.
All I'm saying is 50 million for Calafiori, I'm not crying over us saying goodbye. Like, I'm really not. But the A targets thing, it's a flop if you don't land any of your A targets. Again, they're not in our hands though. Like, it's what have we not done to achieve the guys we wanted? What have we not done to achieve those targets? So let's say we want to consider Toribo a top target after what went down. Okay, well, West Ham had higher salary, was willing to go to a higher salary, almost double what we had on Toribo, and they were willing to go outright on him. It was loan, but it was higher fee. It was 40 all in. And we don't know the terms if we were trying to spread it out over a couple of years or what the case is. So one thing's for sure, Giuntoli's not overextending. Overextending is what fucked us over the past 4 or 5 years. Big overextension on signings, A targets, and then a flurry of patchwork. I know what I would rather choose.
Yeah, Juve chose to sign De Ligt and then got stuck with Sandro for an entire season as the only left back. That's not a way to run a Mercato.
No.
You brought up a good point about Todibo, right? Like, Juventus has the deal in place. Like, it's there. Player wants it. West Ham steps in, and he chooses to go to West Ham over Juventus. Juventus didn't get beat by West Ham. He chose West Ham. The player made that decision. As a club, like, what else do you do, right?
And that's just it.
We also assumed that Todibo was going to be brought in to be the starter as well. Like, Todibo could have been a patch player, but we don't really know that. Like, it's all hypothetical based on reports, right? Like,
if we were sitting here right now at this point, a week out from the end, and we were hearing that, oh, Giuntoli's only coming to 40 for Cope, knowing the whole time they were there, like, that's a different discussion. You've wasted everyone's time. You're an idiot, okay? We're sitting here at 59 million euros, which has been on the table where Juve has got no response for a week on that offer. No response, no communication. Is that a way to act professional? From Atalanta, absolutely not. They look like a Mickey Mouse club. But what else could he do? He is right there financially, okay? The player doesn't even want to train with Atalanta. There is literally nothing else we can do. So to say that is your failure, Okay, well, we went all in. We still supplied, I think, and again, it's not done. You add another of Conceição, of Sancho, okay? You've still done great work. If you look at the financials, the budget's in line.
We'll soon look at all the outgoings and incomings with the predicted ones, and we'll see the amount of work that has been done in the summer. Like that's, and we'll get to it soon. But the
This
amount
is
of
the
players
outgoing list, and there's more on there, but
yeah, like these are the confirmed, almost confirmed guys. Chiesa is still the last one, but that's even without talking about Kostic, Nonj, De Winter, who moved to Genoa on a permanent after we was loaned there. De Chilio is on his way out. I mean, there's still, look at this. These are 16 players. Some on loan, some were sold out of Juve. When's the last time you just sold 16 players?
The books are what many just fail to remember, is that is the work. That is where all the work is being put in, trying to create this team, build some type of base foundation while working on the books. No player has signed even equal to Chiesa's salary. Everyone has been below that. The books have been stellar. As far as the transfers go for incoming and outcoming, when it comes to the numbers, it's pretty much a wash. Now it's going to be obviously changing as we've had some finalized moves here. But I'm telling you, the work's tremendous. I'll give you the numbers right here as far as expenditures and everything, but the work just can't be denied. And I'm going to switch this graphic to the incoming, okay? And obviously we've got the 4 on the bottom there that we got to look at. But where's these numbers here? So incoming, 91 million incoming for fees. 92.7 for expenditures before this finalized Gonzalez deal, which is payable in 4 to 5 years. Okay? And you look at the names coming in and whatnot, and obviously Luiz is the big one there, but there's a massive one sitting there in Koopmeiners. Is it a fail without? I don't really know, man. That's a ton of work. That's a ton of change up. And he did it all within the books, within the budget. The salary has gone down tremendously. We're planting seeds, everybody. We're planting seeds for what's to come. I think he's done a tremendous job. It sucks to say it's a fail, but I will say I'm going to be disappointed without Koopmeiners. I'll be disappointed. We'll have a right to be disappointed because he did everything to sign him.
I agree, but the last week I kind of started thinking that it's a luxury. He immediately improves our attack. But maybe we should, like, the money could have been spent elsewhere. Maybe, because that's a lot of money and we still have gaps. So I do believe he improves this team a lot. We're still without like a support striker. We're still missing probably a fullback, maybe a center back. I mean, we still don't have all the wingers we wanted. I think the Chiesa deal, like Juve, were kind of hoping there will be more offers and we'll get done sooner, and then we can maybe keep Sule.
Yeah.
So that's what a lot of people don't pay attention to during the market. That some of this stuff are not in your hands. Like the fact that
Vidal
Chiesa
brings up a great thing
offers.
about the Bremer extension as well. We should talk about Yildiz extension because that's actually big too, because that's going to be massive potential value. Even because some are saying, oh, this guy's not going to stay around. There was contract issues, discussion issues. In the end, he signs. If it took the number 10 to get that extension, there is a big payoff down the road with Yildiz. He either hits it big, wants to stay with us, and we've got our guy locked in, or his value goes up and he wants to leave, wants to go to another team, and you've kept him and now you're in control. You've got the leverage in the sales position, right? Like, there's a lot of smart, calculated business going on, but the flash from the media is yes, top targets, Juve loses, Juve's hijacked, etc. I talked about it with the Todibo thing. We weren't hijacked. We backed out. If Giuntoli wanted to match those numbers, he was there at the table the day before West Ham went crazy because they knew they had to close it immediately just in case something shifted. Giuntoli walked away. He's not doing anything he doesn't want to. And it's club's first interest. I think he's done a great job. I won't call it a failure if we don't land Koop. It would be a major disappointment though. Because what's the alternative? There is no alternative now. Like, who's the alternative?
There is no alternative signing. There's like alternative within the team.
Already have that type of player like in the team. That's why to me, like, it's disappointing. Yeah, because like I think that he elevates the squad like in terms of quality. But like we do have that type of player. Like Douglas Luiz is that type of player. He plays a little bit deeper, but if you rearrange the formation, we kind of played a little 4-1-4-1 at times in that game on Monday. Shifting between that and the 4-2-3-1, we kind of have that player. So that's why I say it's like a little bit of like a luxury. But in terms of like hijacking, like I agree 100%. And this is my real problem with the fans, like in the way they view the Mercato, is that, like journalist X says that we're linked with X player, like he's the primary target. Well, like maybe we're interested, but like Juventus, like, never makes approaches for some of these guys. Like we said with Gonzalez, right? Like in Sancho and Consecao, like maybe those names pop up kind of recently just to get that over the line. Like, is it going to be a failure if we don't sign either of those two players? Like, how much does Juventus actually want both those players? We don't really know that, right? We know that they like wanted to add two wingers, but we also don't take into account that, hey, Thiago Motta, like he improved a lot of players for Bologna last year. He'll probably improve a lot of Juventus players. We don't take into account that, like, could Way be like reused? Could Mbengula be an up-and-coming player that maybe is part of the reason they sold Sule is because we have a young winger that we like. Maybe Gatti takes a step forward. Like maybe that's why they're not so gung-ho on a Todibo or a Calafiori because they think that Motta thinks he has something. Like these are kind
either
of
way,
right?
Like we've seen now a list of 16 departing players with a couple more to go. That's a lot more than I expected Juve to do in
That's
one
way
summer.
more business than I thought.
The fact we sold King to everyone like in fast is incredible because he had no goals and no assists last year. That's another thing too. Some of the fans I see it in the comments saying like these issues should have been resolved, like they take too long. Some of these players, like you gotta understand, right? Like two-way streets here. Kostick is 32 years old, coming off a season with 0 goals and 0 assists. I'm sorry, but there's not a huge market for him. Like you basically have to beg a club to get him. Arthur Melo, we're probably gonna have to pay part of that salary. He had a good loan spell, and they still don't want him. Like it's
Juve should always just stay away from anything with Melo as part of the names. Like just stay away. Yeah. Bad omen. Bad omen.
And also like even going back, not to rehash the Chiesa thing, but even going back to that one in terms of like resolution, things like that, because I see people complain about the management with this. There were no offers for a very long time. Like Roma liked Chiesa so much that they bought Sule instead for more money. Like that's the reality of that kind of situation is some of these players, like it's not as easy as like, oh, Juventus messed this up. Like there's a lot of other factors. They're not black and white issues. They're gray areas with complexities, right?
Well, if you look at Roma and their financial situation, like this whole Dybala thing is funny to me too because Roma wanted him gone. They needed him gone financially. So now him staying throws a wrench in things for them. But the Chiesa thing, Roma was there. Roma wanted him. It goes back to the demands again, and obviously Chiesa's just list of demands that we're hearing everywhere. It is what it is. But salary-wise and everything, Sule still makes more money or makes more sense, for them financially and the annual cost. But again, it sucks for the amount of work he's done, so intelligently calculated to call it a failure if Koopmeiners doesn't land. But again, here we are. And the poll question, is it a fail without Koop? 42% yes, 58% no. So look at that. Hey, look at that. It's I think it's a little bit fickle, and I'll say why. Because without the moves, even me second guessing, like I said, Sule and that move if you don't land Koopmeiners, when you look at it, we do still have coverage. We want that guy in Serie A because we want to make a splash. We want to pick up one of the best in the league. I think it's a big statement signing from us. We don't necessarily have to have that though. But when you look at this whole thing with Koopmeiners and everything, we don't even get in the position to discuss that move if you don't sell Sule and Huijsen, because we needed the capital and you still needed that to happen with your books. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, almost. That's
for the big thing. Like fans, like they don't understand, like they think that they act like it's like the 10-year Scudetto run where like we could just like present offers and get them done. Like you had to get rid of some of these players to free up space to even get to the table, right? You had to make the small steps to build. Like this is a new management, a new coach, a new team trying to build from the ground up. Like it takes a little bit of growing pains, right? We don't take that into account at all. Like it's just like it needs to be. It's like they think we're playing FIFA. Like we could just sign all these players right away and they'll be fine. Like
we're gonna get everybody to fire in your Storm the Barn questions now. I'll start tagging them. We have a couple already in there. We got to talk about Mark's point here. He's saying up to 3 weeks ago, everyone said if we don't manage to get Todibo, Cope, and Gonzalez this Mercato, who's everybody? Who's everybody? I never said that they would be a fail, but he says it would be a fail. What changed now? To compete for this season, we need Cope, Conceição, Sancho, and Nico. I think if you believe we need all of that, then you're not maybe being fair to some of the guys we currently have. And you might not be being fair to Mota in terms of what he could do with what he has. I don't know if we need all of that. Conceição, Sancho, and Nico, 2 out of 3 we are prepared to get. Koopmeiners, we've done everything we can to get. Todibo is what it is. It's gone. The terms change. It's like Calafiori. We brought in a depth safety net signing. We got to see. But this is still, the defense has never concerned me. This is still the defense that allowed only, 31 goals last season?
Thank you for saying that, because I say this in the Shall AJC Army Chat. I say this all the time. The defense was like one of the best until we had our collapse last year, which I think we could all say largely may have stemmed from some off-the-field issues between the coach and the director and, you know, some stuff that was happening behind the scenes. That defense was the best defense in Serie A for a very long time, and it was Danilo, Gatti, and Bremer. Like, you know,
and Mark, I remember stating it would be a big disappointment, and I would question everything I just gone over. I would question everything with Sule and whatnot with Koopmeiners. But again, you're looking at things a little bit differently now in terms of the team, how they're playing. Like, even through one game, Ilda's in the 10. I don't know. There's people coming out now saying we should skip out on Cope and spread the money out.
Who knows? Coop and Gonzalez alone are 100 million. Like I don't see a way to bring 2 more wingers like Sancho and Conceição. Look, Juve are trying to be on the best team. You're always telling us to stop counting on the Como match and on preseason and whatever. Yeah, exactly. Judge Juve's market by the end of the 24-25 season. Okay. It doesn't matter who we sign. It matters where we finish by the end of the season. We can sign a group of 20-year-olds and they'll win the Scudetto. Then what would we say? We would all be wrong because we would all assume it wouldn't be enough. So, yeah, we can give grades to the Mercato and what we think personally. Ultimately, it's what happens on the pitch. Yeah, Como are a shit team. We lost to shit teams last season and the season before that.
Yeah.
Okay, we will lose to some shit teams this season because that's how football works. But don't let the market ruin your entire season because you're expecting a failure based on the signings.
It's more coming down to this, and that's trusting the process. These guys, Giuntoli and Mota, are making the decisions they see fit. Giuntoli's not overstanding. We've just complained for 4 or 5 years about patchwork every single summer. So now we have a guy that's trying to prevent that, trying to be proactive against that happening, even with extensions, not getting caught in contracts we don't like, everything we've complained about. So that's why I think it's a difficult spot. It's a little fickle. And you know what? Things change by the week, by the day in the Mercato. So yeah, disappointment and failure are two different things. I vividly remember stating I would be disappointed if we don't land a big D-man, Koopmeiners, okay? A forward, I've said the entire time, forward is my main concern. It remains my main concern. Attack is my main concern. A Vice Vlahovic is still in question, you know? So we got to see where it wraps up. But things change. It all changed with Dodibo. Giuntoli walked away. So it is what it is. I move on. Am I disappointed about it? I would have liked Dodibo. The majority of the fan base, like 58% when we put the poll question out, said no. They don't care. They don't want him.
Well, Tobido was an average player until we didn't sign him. Then we missed out on Lily and Thuram. Like
it's difficult. It's like it always evolves. It always moves. But again, you look at the overall body of work. We still have the potential to bring in another one of these forwards. I just said I'm happy with any out of these three for a combination, and maybe we land Cope. Let's just see, everybody. Let's just see. Let's take it easy. But Storm the Barn, we're going to get into these, okay?
So I have one to kick us off. It's not a question, just there is going to be a Fagioli documentary on everything he's been through, which will be presented soon at some ceremony. I don't know which one, but it's super interesting to me. Like, what do you guys think about it? Especially after his interview.
We talked about this when I leaked it, that it was going to come out before anybody,
really?
Even you.
Okay, so I missed it. Never mind, scrap that.
Yeah, we talked about this like months ago when I leaked that there was a Fagioli document coming up. Some said that their thoughts were anything for a buck from Juve in turning this thing into like some marketing thing, some video thing that they can feed off of. For me, I actually said it depends. It depends how it's actually completed. It could actually end up being a very useful and solid document for people that are struggling with something of that sort, right? So it really depends on the execution. I can understand both sides of the fence there, but for me, I can't really pass judgment on it until I watch it, you know? I would say I'm a little bit more critical of them getting a betting sponsorship deal with that company almost right after he gets reinstated. I'd probably be a little more critical of that than them choosing to do a documentary on this whole situation, right?
No,
what do you guys think?
The documentary is super interesting.
Yeah,
I want to watch it.
Yeah, listen, I'll watch it.
Juventus should make money on the Fagioli documentary. He sat out the whole year. We should recoup some of that money. You know, like.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Let's get to the Storm and the Barns. Where do you think we will place in the Champions League? 1 to 8, 9 to 24. Do we even get to the knockouts? Appreciate you, AJC Fab. Much appreciated. Thank you for the Storm and the Barn question. We're gonna get to the knockouts. We'll be in the knockout rounds. From there, I really don't know, but I feel confident we'll get into the knockout rounds.
Yeah, I think we'll get in the chaos, but the Champions League is something where I'm just like, focus on Serie A this year.
And that's kind of it. Like, let's get back to where we need to be domestically.
Yeah, we're not ready for the Champions League. Also, that format is crazy.
Well, the draw is all simulated, by AI and stuff. Like they're gonna just do this whole thing and eight opponents. Is it 8 opponents for each team?
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see. But knockouts, I say knockouts. We get to knockouts for sure. Adam, what is your starting midfield? Are we gonna say with or without Koopmeiners? Let's go without our starting mid and with.
Mhm.
So
Okay. Without,
That's
I
a
got
really
Turan,
tough question.
Locatelli, Louise. And
that's my
then
same without.
with
Yeah,
I have Louise, Locatelli, and Koopmeiners. But I think Locatelli's hanging on by just a thread because Turan was pretty impressive in that game.
Yeah. Uh we talked
that's
about
a
this, and Fajoli always comes up. Like, he'll get his minutes, but I'm going with without Coop, it's Louise, Locatelli, Thuram. With Koopmeiners, Koopmeiners is out there, and it's Louise, and I probably lean on Thuram.
Yeah, Turan and Locatelli is an interesting debate to watch as the season goes, especially we get Koopmeiners. That's a good battle.
Yeah, I'm just it's good. Again, consistency will be the question mark for Loca. That was a good showing. Again, everybody wants to talk opponent, whatever. Let's just wait to see what's going to happen. He's going to get more reps. We got to wait for Thuram's hamstring injury to get good, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's kind of where I'm standing there.
yeah.
Well,
I don't think like it's very hard to choose because last match we've seen Ildiz as part of this sort of trio, and
yeah, until the
and
subs
he
came, that's right. He was in
yeah,
the 10 role,
and
right?
he did okay.
I think
So I
Yildiz.
don't know if we can choose. Like
I think
I think Thuram is a lock, but I'm caught in the hype right now.
yeah,
For me, Locatelli, I don't know. I think Louise Thuram Coop with
Yeah.
Coop is the way to go. Without, I'll take any combination. They all seem
Because
fine. I don't
there's a
know what's
lot
the
of
starting
fans
point.
saying Yildiz, leave him in that 10 role, let him keep cooking and whatnot. But like, to be honest,
Yeah, but signing Coop
I'm
kind of
fine with
pushes
him
him.
on the side too. Like, and he spent
if
so
you
much
watch
time
that,
on the left. Like,
yeah, I
it'll
was
be
just saying,
okay.
watch that. He drifted left a lot, and
A
some of his best
ton.
moments in that game was
Mhm.
when he was taking people one on one via the left side.
A
So
ton.
And it kind of gives you an extra winger, so you don't have to sign like all three because Coop then slots in the middle and Yildiz moves back to a winger position.
Yeah. Mark asked, what is the situation with Pogba? How will this affect us? Honestly, we're waiting for this trial. And if, depending on what comes there, his contract could potentially become in play again. That's very rare that it's happened, but some certain appeals have been won. It looks like the club right now, he's at the base, 42,000 annually for pay. Nothing with that is going to change until they get a trial. So Juve's not really doing anything. Obviously, they took the 10 because he's not on like the active roster or anything like that. 10 went to Yildiz. They
Well,
are literally just waiting for that. All signs point to them having a break and everything. But again, Juve's just waiting officially for the trials ending. And I think that's
well,
just a formality that has to happen legally with anybody that's in a contract. So, yeah.
well, right now, as things stand, he can't play for any team, and he's been ruled out for 4 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's not an active player. You are paying him peanuts right now, and they had to take the 10. But I don't see him coming back to football. Period.
No,
If he,
I think that's
if he
it.
keeps the 4 years, I think it's done for him.
I
I
could see him in
actually
Saudi
wouldn't be
Arabia.
surprised if he's in MLS, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what you say.
that's
Like one of those two leagues, like Saudi Arabia, MLS. I bet you he ends up in one
I
of
bet
those.
you somebody picks him up, does some there.
Mhm.
Do you think, from Juve Cornercast there, do you think we should abandon Sancho to get a Vice Vlahovic, judging Milik's fitness? I don't know if I'd abandon like two wingers is a must, I think. Bring in two wingers, and I don't think that I would just leave it now with Gonzalez and go to that Vice Vlahovic. It is an issue though. I think they're going to go really, really cheap. I think we'll see a Vice Vlahovic, but I think it's going to be like a super, super cheap deal, and it'll be late in the window, to be honest. But I wouldn't scrap plans on a second winger.
I don't. I know Shiera reported that today about them trying to get another striker, but I don't. I don't know. I think we'll be fine with Milik.
Oh man, like last year we had both Milik and Keane injured. If we get Vlahovic and Milik injured at some point, with no like
Yeah,
who plays up
yeah.
top?
I don't know.
Like
Like
I
the
think
options right now,
you're gonna see a signing. It'll probably be a super cheap one, super cheap.
What's
maybe Jonathan David
is it gonna
would
be
be a
like
cheap
Bentner
option.
like?
Jonathan
Who?
David's Jonathan David's been thrown out a lot by some Juventus. I think the price is probably going to be more than what they're going to look for too, because I think he's 25.
What's Chopoming? What's that dude? You know what I'm talking about.
Galumuendo, who just came up.
Mhm.
No,
Galumuendo came up as a target, 20 mil.
Chop Choupo-Moting from Bayern.
yeah. What's he up to?
He's like 40. He's up to
Well, I
tucking his
mean,
kid into
Yeah.
bed.
both are 16.
Payable in 8 years. We can make something happen.
Yeah.
Why loaning Miretti if we fail to get Koopmeiners? Well,
I want this one. I want this one.
go
Go.
ahead.
He asked for a loan. He wants to play with continuity. Like Juventus, this is a win for Juventus. If the player wants to play continuity to develop, he's probably fifth or sixth on the depth chart. I know fans don't want to hear this, but Motta does like Weston McKennie. Like that's a thing. So probably go compete with McKennie for that fifth spot. Like you loan him because it benefits you in the long term. If you're building a long term project, he goes out on loan. He either develops into the player we think he is, or he doesn't, and someone else buys him. Like it's business, and the player asked for it. That's it.
Yeah, I don't think
player,
Miretti's playing in that 10 role over like Yildiz, or Mota would probably opt for the 4-1-4-1 before even going that route over some of these other guys. So the Miretti loan is all about minutes and finally figuring out if we're going to shit or get off the pot when it comes to him and the future with Juventus. Pretty cut and dry. Get him the minutes. He's no good to us as fifth or sixth option, right?
Especially at his age, it can derail his career for just sitting on the bench for most of the season. Not because he's not a good player, because there are a lot of better players than him. He
Yeah.
needs those minutes. It's so important to play a lot at that age.
It seems to be like the times that he actually looks like a player too is like when he's playing like a little regularly. You just can't guarantee that at Juventus right now.
So we got to talk about this. The sponsorship's been like such a focus for questions and everything. So Alex P saying the Prime deal looks worse and worse by each passing week. Hopefully they don't have a spot on the shirt. It's not supposed to be a spot on the shirt. The latest we've heard with sponsorships is you've got the Italia Airways that obviously wasn't able to actually be our sponsor due to regulations. I found it absolutely laughable that between Juve and the company, they didn't realize this before it got to the point of almost being ready for announcement. We could be staring down the barrel of no sponsorship, but there's rumors that they're trying to find a short-term 20 to 25 mil sponsor for like 1 to 2 years and then try to push for a bigger sponsor, similar to what we were getting with Jeep around 45. It was 38 last year because of no European play. I don't know, with this Prime thing, I just talked about it and like I get it from the influencer standpoint and everything, but like honestly, I just don't want those guys around in content. I think some of the content's been just cringe coming out of Juve for a while. Like look at this Kalulu signing thing. Like that was just dreadful. I think they should stay true to some of the diehards while still focusing on the next generation, the young guys, but with deals like this, it's like, oh, everyone's going to buy a Juve kit if Speed wears one and whatever. Sure, but like, are those the fans that are going to like actually like back the club, support the club, and like be there year in, year out through no matter what, and be spending all their hard-earned money and traveling to the stadium? And like, I don't necessarily know, right? So there's one thing to be said about the flash and doing that, but you still need those diehards, and you got to stay true to them. In terms of the company, there's a lot of controversy. I think all three of those guys, KSI, Logan Paul, and Speed, all have scams around them. I don't know the details of them because I find these guys all unbearable. if I'm going to be completely honest. Okay. But from an exposure perspective, yeah, it's going to be massive for exposure. Huge. But yeah, I don't know. For me,
I forgot that they sponsored us until Alex P brought it up. Like, it's one of those things that I forget about until I see the picture on Twitter. Like,
I just hope the players don't drink that shit. That's all it really comes down to when it comes to Prime.
Okay? I also like, I think it's not really that big of a deal, to be honest.
No, take the money. I'll take the money. I don't want to see them in content. I just don't. Yeah. I find them unbearable. It's just a personal thing.
I agree.
It's cringe. Like, all the stuff they do is kind of like cringe, but it's this
I don't like those guys, period. Like, I mean, even I show Speed that he's football related content creator, even though he's just an annoying piece of, let's leave it at that. But like, he had an hour and a half in a car with Zlatan Ibrahimovic, promoting Milan content, where they played the first one to move is gay or something like that. I mean, it was cringe as fuck.
I know, like, that's just brutal.
It's not only
like, brutal.
But I do get that maybe I'm just an older fan who doesn't get the young generation today. Maybe the kids love it and it gets kids to watch Juve. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. Maybe we're just old.
Serie A does come out of the Stone Age just a little bit. I know it's painful. I know it's not ideal, but like, they do gotta try to come out of the Stone Age a little bit here.
Look, money is money. Money is money. That's it.
But this is part of the thing that kind of bugs the diehards a bit, because you start to get your club associated with this anything for a buck term. And in a way, I could see why some fans reached out, and it was in my updates, it was in DMs, like, this is actually embarrassing to be associated with these guys, because a lot of people see it that way. Anything for a buck. When you start to lean anything towards a buck, that's why I say the team needs to balance it out with the diehards and not forget about that and stay true to that. And they need to find a way to do that. They need to balance it all out, because right now it's leaning heavy towards anything for a buck. But we know where the team stands right now, and it is what it is. I'll tell you how they could support the diehards. Get me my goddamn order from the Juve store, okay? 3.5 bloody weeks, 4 weeks pushing. What is taking you guys so long? Jesus.
They've never been that slow, have they?
No wonder they can't get Koopmeiners in here. It's get the money flowing here. You take the payments, you don't get the product out here. Nobody's going to buy more. Let's go. Fanatics stepping up, eh? Jesus. Without a creative midfielder like Koopmeiners or a striker like Xerxes, can Malta's system work against high-level opposition? When's the next playback show? So the next playback show, answer that one quickly. For those of you who are not joining us on playback, the link is in the description to this video right now. Head over there. That's where all our shows are calling. This Monday, around 6:30, 6:45 p.m. Eastern time, it's going to be Serie A Roundtable, all right? And I'm going to be joined by some fans of the Chihuahuas out there, so it's going to be great, okay? We're going to do the Serie A Roundtable. It's going to be fun. That's the next playback show. Without a creative midfielder or striker like Xerxes, how do you think Malta's system will work against higher level opposition? Who wants to tackle this one first?
I'll go first, because I have been like kind of thinking about it in the past couple of weeks. And I think, like, okay, if a lot of coaches are being called top coaches today and whatnot because of their system and blah, 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 I kind of disagree with that, because if you are a top coach, you make do with what you have. Like, if you don't have this specific character and this specific player there, then the system won't work. So we gotta have this type of player. Look, top coaches make do with what they have. If you don't have a Xerxes, you have a Vlahovic. Fine, that would be the difference between Mota being a top coach or another, like what's his face, the Zerbi. And that's kind of where I'm going with it. He'll have to prove he can make it work with the team that he has. You can't bring the profile players to wherever you want. That's not the reality.
I have a really simple answer to this. Douglas Luiz is a very creative player. They could play, through him. Has everyone forgot that we signed this guy? I don't understand.
It was so long
People in the
ago.
Premier League are like mystified that Arsenal did not sign him because of
Yeah.
how good he was in the Premier League. Like Aston Villa had to let him go because of financial reasons, but their fans were like up in arms. He's a good player. Like we can play through him. I do think just one game, but I do think interesting tactically. Someone mentioned Yildiz in there. I think Yildiz played really well, and I think a lot of that was because Juventus looked to play through him a lot. If you look at the midfield, they were playing through him a lot. Thought that the style was kind of, aggressive. It was high pressing. It was counterattacking. I think that's probably how we will play against some of those bigger teams. Focused on winning the ball back in the midfield or higher up the pitch, and getting the ball out wide.
I think
I don't think the world.
If you're going to talk about us lacking creation and whatnot, I think we're comfortable with the guys we already have. Cope takes it to another level and he adds more options for Malta. But right now, Malta has a good amount of options and what he could do in rotating the squad. Like there's a lot of flexibility there. Again, going back to the work that they've done, the players are versatile. Versatility is one thing that stands out with a lot of guys. Like we're looking at going into the next game, Cambiasso at right wing, and nobody's going to bat an eye. Like he could do it. He's shown that he could do it. It'll be good. I think it'll be just fine. Vlahovic, I think, and I always said this, it was going to be a concern based on how different he is from Xerxes. However, I said I would anticipate Malta making adjustments based on the other players he has to account for that and make up for that. And I think we would have saw that with Yildiz. The way he uses his wingers is tremendous. It's not going to be that big of a problem. He's not going to get maybe as involved, but he's going to get a ton more service than he's seen in the past few years. And I think ultimately with Vlahovic, I think he'll be just fine this season. He's going to get so much service. He's sitting on 0. Could have easily had a hat trick in the first game. Like this guy's going to get goals. He's going to get a ton of opportunities. I think we're going to be okay. And on the creative side, the midfield's got enough. Like Thuram can create even out of that role. Like when he starts driving the ball forward, like he could still do it out of that role. You've got Luiz. You've got Fagioli.
The fullbacks. I mean, like that's something that we really didn't have. I mean, Cambiasso could do it last year, but we've seen now in training videos and even that first game, like the Cabal Vlahovic connection. That ball out to the left, and when if we get contribution from the fullbacks, that helps a ton too. It doesn't have to be one number 10, right?
Yeah. How can he get more service than last season when we were tied for chances created in first? Easy, because that's spread out through the whole volume of a season. But there was games he barely got anything. Like, I think it's going to be a lot more evened out. His numbers, I think, come the end will show for it. I believe they will.
Okay.
Omer.
Breaking news. Conceição is a done deal, according to Di Marzio and some others. He will be in Turin tomorrow to sign for Juve. Justin.
Look at that. Just like
Hot
that.
out of the oven.
Boom. Gonzalez, Conceição, done deal. Look at that, everybody. There's your two wingers. Here we go.
Thankfully, hired Giuntoli.
It only took a day, right?
And if it was up to Justin, Giuntoli would have been gone 2 weeks ago. Fired, sacked just like that. Hey, yo.
One summer of crying, and we're finally here.
Look at that. Do we get one more piece? Koopmeiners left. Let's wait and see. But Gonzalez, Conceição, I'm stoked on Conceição. All right? Beautiful stuff, everybody.
Do you think they play against Verona? One of them has to, because we have no wing.
No.
Like Where is out. We basically have only Mbangula.
The loan was it's a dry loan. I don't know if you said that, Omar. Dry loan, no option. 7 million plus 3 million in add-ons. He'll be present Sunday for a medical, according to Romano.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think these guys get in. No, too quick a turnaround. But look at this. This looks good, everybody. This looks good. Okay. And Don Valentino saying anything now is bonus for me. Cope would be a massive bonus. All right. This is going to be unbelievable.
Okay. So until Chiesa is sold, we have 4 players who are the sons of ex-Serie A players now in Conceição, Thuram, Chiesa, and I'm missing someone. Who else?
Who are the names you listed?
I blanked.
So
anyway.
One of the questions was Gonzalez on the bench versus Verona. I don't. Maybe Gonzalez, but I don't know. You were reading that Conceição was going to be Monday, Lou?
Sunday.
For medicals.
Yeah, for medicals.
So Sunday for medicals there. I don't know if they get in. I don't get it.
You know, also, if you guys like, Malta seems to be like, even like some
we're losing Lou.
New signings, like it's kind of like the ones who were here but later, not so much. So I'm kind of thinking maybe they slowly get integrated a little bit.
That's great, though. That is great stuff. That's actually great stuff. So here we go. Waiting so long. Finally. So Gonzalez, Conceição, same day, done deals. Boom. Cooking. Finally. All right. Finally. And on the good news, Justin B keeping it going here. 5 AJC memberships gifted out. Congrats to those that are going to receive them. Reach out to us. Let's plug you into the private chat. All right. And for anybody looking to become a member, you got to be on a desktop to do it. All right. But massive. Alex P putting one out on last live, and Justin B now doing it today. We got another Storm the Barn here. It's from Mark. Should Mbangula be a first-team player and not a rotational one? He seems ready. All I'm going to say when it comes to this, and this goes probably across the line, competition for every position throughout the season. We talked about how many comps we're in, how many games we're going to be playing. I'm fine with not labeling anybody. You know what I mean? Like, I think you'll have your locks that are going to be on that sheet have to play, but we are far from settling that. And we just got a couple very interesting options that are going to be available to Mota now. Man, this is great stuff. This is great. I'm buzzing right now. I expected one to get done today. I did not expect to see both of those. We're literally waiting on Cope, and that's in the hands of those toilets. Atalanta. So let's see what happens there. But this is great stuff, guys. I'm jacked right now. Like, I am jacked right now.
Listen, I get something there's some questions in the chat about the dry loan for Conceição. Towards the end of this week, that some of the like smaller journalists have been talking about this. He had a couple injuries last year, so like Juventus might have came in and was just like, we don't want to put an option or obligation on this because just in case it goes south, you know, we don't want to be stuck, which I think is probably a smart play. It's a little bit of a gamble, but, you know, I just thought that was an interesting note to add about the Conceição like deal type.
Well, first of all, we have to start calling him Chico because Francisco Conceição is too long. So Chico would be the name. And now if we get Coop, then we basically have Wea, Mbangula, Conceição, and Nico Gonzalez as wingers. Possibly McKennie, maybe we'll see him there. Yildiz, like, is that enough to go into the season?
We made 7 signings this summer.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
a lot of
we're sitting pretty. Like, look at this. So Cope and a Vice DV9, and we're set. We're set, lads.
Honestly, we're set.
We're set. If
Mario.
And even now, if it stops now and you find a Vice Vlahovic, I think we're going to see a Vice Vlahovic. Two's kind of sketchy at striker. I think we see a Vice Vlahovic no matter what. You get Cope and a Vice Vlahovic, like, we are set, everybody. We are set. This is, and the fact that, man, Conceição ends up being just a loan, like, unreal. No buy option. included. 7 million for the loan, 3 million in add-ons though. Oof.
It's a really good deal.
It's expensive.
Yeah, I think if we do decide to
expensive,
sign him by the
yeah.
end of the season, I think it will get deducted of the the price that they want, the 30 something 40.
I think that's probably what we'll end up seeing, because that is a hefty loan fee, but
Yeah.
hey, no obligations. That's good, man. That's good. I think we'll be all right. And Norby bringing something up we should definitely discuss right now. Yildiz is a perfect striker in multi-system. How do we feel about that one?
I thought about it a lot because someone brought it up like a couple of shows ago, but we've yet to see him like play that role. I need to see him at least once. On paper, it looks like it just works out. The movement, the ball control, and like the playing with both feet, right and left. It looks very interesting. We need to see it.
Yeah. This is you guys, I am absolutely pumped. It was funny. We talked about it because we got a game coming up in a couple days. Should we do a live, on Saturday? Should we do it? Oh man, I'm glad we did, because I'm jacked. I'm happy to share this with everybody. Like, that's
very rare.
We've been
like,
waiting so long. Like Omer said, it's like when you're high and you're hungry and you'll just take anything, but boom, we get two of these guys out of these three targets named. It's Conceição, it's Gonzalez, and we don't need to worry about the character issues with Sancho that many fans had. We're rolling, everybody. Yeah. This is looking good.
It's not
this is looking
very
good.
often that we get like breaking news during a show, and the last time I remember was Dybala leaving.
Yeah. Like an old Raf looked like he was gonna break down there, but I like it. I'm pumped now. Cope, hey, we asked the question earlier. Do you believe we land him? Yes, is the high majority.
Today.
86 today. Lou says the last day. So maybe we wrap up this show on the day. What will be the exact day? And we'll just do a friendly little wager. Pick the exact day, all right, that we get Cope, if you believe we're going to do it. Lou?
August 30th, baby.
August 30th. So a day before the end, eh? Because it's the 31st it ends, right? Or does it actually go into September? It might be September 1st.
I think September 1st is the last day, like the market is still open.
Wait. The 31st is the last day. So, yeah, the 31st it ends.
All right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the 31st is the Koopmeiners.
I will say this coming Wednesday, the 28th. I'm saying the 28th.
Yeah, so Atalanta play tomorrow. I think it happens right after Juve's match on Monday, like on Thursday, which will be the 27th.
So you're saying 27th. I'm going 28th. Alex P's got 29th. We've got 29th here for BAT 97. Hey, let's see, everybody. All I know is I am absolutely jazzed now, okay? So we got a couple big pieces of business. We keep rolling. The terms are what they are, but better. No obligations again, like with Conceição, could be the difference. Some are asking, do you also see Sancho, since that just ended up being a dry loan? I don't know. I think it was going to be two out of those three. Yeah. Like we talked about it earlier on the show. Yesterday, it seemed like we were going to get all three. I don't see that happening.
It feels like Giuntoli has done an interesting thing here, and he kind of moved the pressure to the agents and the players, to apply pressure on the clubs. Like, we have two spots. You three are up for contention for Juve. First ones to get the agreement with the club, we sign. So maybe
I think Sancho is very slim, but I do think like you get to that last day. United seem very desperate to move him, like kind of like the way we're desperate to move Kostić. Like we don't get like the Koopmeiners deal falls through for some reason. Like maybe there's like a 5% chance that they do us a favor. Maybe to get both those players the way we just did was shocking to me anyway. So that was, you never know.
We'll see how this all plays out. So
that's 15 players in and one summer.
Yeah. It was going to be a question of, is the fight over for CG, as you see in the headline for the show? And we said give in or give up, basically, because it's crunch time. And just like that, boom, the fight is over. And yeah, we sealed the deal. We might have given in a bit with Gonzalez there on Fiorentina, but Conceição ends up being a dry loan, an expensive loan, but they always needed a loan. They were always pushing for that loan. So give in a bit on those fees, but in the end, we get the coverage that we all felt we grossly needed in the attack, and these are good targets. We didn't give up. We didn't back out, and we didn't go to alternatives. And we may not hear the name Domenico Berardi for the rest of the Mercato, which is also a blessing.
Hopefully ever.
Hopefully ever. Very expensive loan, Mark. You're right. We pointed that out. But at the end of the day, you need depth. You need coverage. You need to land your guys. We did it.
How does it work in the books? Because now it's only 10 million in the books. Like if we signed a loan with obligation for like 30, how does that math out?
Well, this is all, well, again, they got to figure out when the payment goes through. That's part of the deal. It's kind of like the Di Gregorio thing, how it starts off with a loan. But essentially, it's going to be that on the books plus his salary. Yeah, unless, of course, they spread it. But yeah, a loan will hit just like that, just as it sits. So at the end of the day, is what it is. That's 2 players and 4 to 5 years in payment for Gonzalez. Juve got what they needed, and they didn't overextend. That loan's hefty, but it looks like they were prepared to do so. Hey, I like it. I like it. Now we could go out and listen to all those chihuahuas. Yip, 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 yip. All right. Let's go. I'm pumped. Pumped, you guys. Fucking jacked. Next live.
Just like jock.
Man, unreal. We've been waiting so long that we forget what it's like for a done deal, but here we are, all right? So, here we go. This coming Monday is going to be the next live show. We'll get you hyped up for that match. I am going to be doing a live watch along. Everybody that's in the live chat right now, drop a like on your way out, all right? You guys have been fantastic. Justin B is firm, all right? He is firm, excited. We finally got some done business. Maybe you can go easy on Giuntoli now, all right? We'll talk to you in the AJC private chat, all right? And everybody that was gifted a membership and is a member, reach out to us. We're going to carry on the discussion now in the private chat, okay? Absolutely jazzed right now. And you guys, hey, let's just wait and see. Koopmeiners might be the next one. The next one on deck, all right? You guys take care. Have a great weekend. It's going to be a great weekend now, all right? Fanta Calcio, check our tweets, our posts on Instagram. Join our league if you haven't already, all right? And you should have already had your lineup set up. If you haven't, you might be in trouble, all right? Because the games are going to happen very, very soon. But as always, no matter what, fino alla fine, forza Juventus, welcome aboard Gonzalez and Chico. Conceição, all right? Let's go, everybody. Take care. Woo!
Yeah.